Sarah Jenkins never believed in the supernatural until her camping trip to Blackwood Forest in 2018. As a wildlife photographer with a reputation for capturing remote wilderness, she had ventured into some of the most isolated locations on Earth. But nothing had prepared her for Blackwood. The trouble began 17 minutes after sunset on her first day. While adjusting her camera settings near a gnarled oak tree that locals called the Sentinel, Sarah felt the air temperature plummet. Her breath clouded in front of her face despite the summer evening. Then came the whispers, soft at first, like wind through leaves, but with unsettling clarity. They called her name, not Sarah, but Sadie, the childhood nickname only her deceased grandmother had ever used. Sadie, come closer. We've been waiting since before you were born. The voices described the yellow dress she wore at her 5th birthday party, the scar on her knee from falling off her bike at age 7, the name of her first crush. Details no stranger could possibly know. That night, huddled in her tent as rain began to fall, Sarah frantically reviewed the day's footage on her camera's LCD screen. What she saw made her blood freeze. Between every tree trunk stood shadowy human-like figures, dozens of them, all facing her campsite. None had been visible to her naked eye. Even more disturbing were the faces in the bark of the trees themselves. Not vague patterns that suggested faces, but detailed, expressive human visages with hollow eyes that seemed to follow the camera's movement. 3 days later, stumbling out of the forest with severe dehydration, Sarah encountered Forest Ranger Jim Blackett. The hardened veteran ranger's face went pale when she described her experience. "You're the 4th person to report those voices," he confided, his hands trembling as he poured her coffee. 3 hikers have vanished from that exact clearing over the past decade. Each reported hearing whispers days before they disappeared. What he didn't tell her immediately, what he revealed only after 3 shots of whiskey that evening, was what they'd found 6 months after the last disappearance. 3 bodies in a previously undiscovered cave system beneath the forest floor. Each corpse bore intricate patterns carved into their skin, patterns identical to the unique formations in the ancient oak's bark. Sarah escaped with her life, but something followed her home. On the 17th minute of every hour between sunset and sunrise, she hears those whispers, sometimes from her shower drain, sometimes from her closet, sometimes from directly behind her when she's alone. The worst part, the whispers are getting louder, and lately, they started saying they're coming for her soon. When business executive Michael Chen checked into the Grand Palms Hotel in 2015, he specifically requested room 211. The young desk clerk's face drained of color so rapidly that Michael thought the man might faint. I'm sorry, sir," the clerk stammered, fingers trembling over his keyboard. "We don't. That is, room 211 isn't available." Michael, irritated after a 6-hour flight delay, insisted on knowing why. The manager was called, a stern-faced woman named Harriet who'd worked at the hotel for 43 years. She reluctantly explained they'd retired that room number after a series of unfortunate events. Michael's journalistic background kicked in. During his 3-night stay, he bribed bellhops, charmed elderly housekeepers, and bought drinks for maintenance workers, piecing together the room's blood-soaked history. July 16, 1972, traveling salesman Vernon Miller was found hanging from the bathroom pipes, his fingernails broken backward from clawing at his own throat. The official report ruled suicide, but night manager Thomas Phelps, now 87 and living in a nearby nursing home, told Michael a different story. Guests complained about screaming from room 211 for hours. When security finally entered, they found furniture stacked in impossible configurations. Vernon's suicide note contained just 3 words written in handwriting experts later confirmed wasn't his. "It made me." Between 1973 and 1997, 26 guests who stayed in room 211 independently reported waking paralyzed in bed, feeling crushing pressure on their chests, while a figure darker than the darkness itself watched from the corner. 7 suffered heart attacks. 4 never spoke again. March 4, 1998, the Ishikawa family fled at 3:11 a.m., abandoning $6,000 worth of luggage. Hotel security footage showed them running through the lobby, carrying their 8-year-old daughter who thrashed violently in her father's arms. The night manager recorded the girl speaking fluent Latin in a deep, masculine voice, though she knew only Japanese and basic English. When translated, she had been repeating, "I was here before the foundation stones. I will remain where the walls crumble to dust." The next morning, the hotel management renumbered all rooms, converting 211 into a maintenance closet. But the phenomena continued. Michael convinced elderly janitor Eduardo Martins to unlock the former room 211 near midnight. The moment the door swung open, Michael's phone, watch, and the hallway lights died simultaneously. Eduardo crossed himself and refused to enter, but Michael stepped inside, voice recorder running. The maintenance closet was unnaturally cold, his breath visible despite the desert heat outside. Against the back wall stood a single queen bed, though hotel records showed all furniture had been removed in 1998. On his recorder, later, Michael found 17 minutes of his own voice speaking fluent Cantonese, a language he doesn't know, describing in graphic detail how he would die 7 years later. The strangest part? 3 months ago, exactly 7 years after his hotel stay, Michael died exactly as the voice predicted. He left behind this account with strict instructions for publication, along with security camera footage showing the door of the maintenance closet that was once room 211 opening and closing by itself 17 times the night he died, though he was 600 miles away. The Richardson family never believed in ghosts until April 17, 2020. Trapped in their suburban Minneapolis home during the early pandemic lockdowns, they became prisoners to something far worse than a virus. It began with a phone call at exactly 3:17 a.m. Emma Richardson, a pragmatic emergency room nurse who'd seen enough real-life horror to dismiss supernatural claims, answered groggily. What she heard haunts her nightmares still. Static that pulsed like a heartbeat, underneath which lurked barely audible sounds. Fingernails scraping wood, labored breathing, and distant screams that seemed to echo through a long corridor. Then, a raspy voice whispered her daughter's names in order of their birth, followed by 4 words, "I'm coming for them." The police initially dismissed it as a cruel prank, until they traced the call. Detective Sandra Mosley's face turned ashen when she returned the next day. "The call originated from Blackwood Asylum," she said, voice cracking. "It was demolished in 2015. Dismissing this impossibility, the Richardsons changed their number, then changed it again, and again. They switched providers entirely. The calls continued, always at 3:17 a.m., always with that same static breathing screaming backdrop. By week 3, other phenomena manifested with escalating intensity. The refrigerator door would swing open violently in the middle of family dinners. The children's battery-less toys activated at night, singing nursery rhymes at half speed. Most disturbing was the family's gentle Labrador Scout, who began refusing to enter certain rooms, standing rigid at thresholds, his fur raised as he growled at empty corners. Emma's logical mind fractured when her 7-year-old daughter Zoe started having conversations with an invisible friend she called the doctor who wants to fix our brains. That same night, while retrieving Christmas decorations, Emma discovered a yellowed photograph tucked into the attic insulation, one that didn't belong to their family. It showed a gaunt, hollow-eyed man in a 1940s suit standing in front of their house. On the back, written in faded ink, Dr. Thomas Harlow, April 17, 1940. Emma's frantic research at the local historical society uncovered the horrifying truth. Harlow wasn't just any doctor. He was the director of Blackwood Asylum, who had conducted experimental treatments on patients with mental illness. His methods? Drilling into their skulls while they remained conscious, claiming to release the demons of madness. After 17 patients died, Harlow faced criminal charges. On April 17, 1940, at precisely 3:17 a.m., he hanged himself, but not before vowing to continue his work beyond death. The most terrifying development came when David Richardson installed cameras throughout their home. The footage showed all three Richardson children sleepwalking each night to the attic, arranging themselves in a circle and tilting their heads at identical angles, as if listening to someone standing in the center. In desperation, the family consulted paranormal investigator Eleanor Wells, who advised them to burn the photograph and scatter the ashes over running water. They did so on May 17. The calls stopped. The phenomena ceased. The children remembered nothing. But when the Richardsons moved to Arizona 6 months later, the new homeowners began receiving phone calls at exactly 3:17 am. On September 17, 2021, UC Berkeley computer science major Jason Park received an email with no subject line and no sender information. The body contained only a string of numbers, 37.8651 degrees N, 122.2981 degrees W, 09,172,221. Jason deleted it without a second thought. The next morning, the same email sat in his inbox, despite Gmail confirming it had been permanently deleted. Then the email began appearing in different accounts simultaneously. His university email, a Hotmail account he hadn't accessed in years, even his private developer account that only 5 people knew existed. Each time he deleted it, the message would reappear exactly 17 minutes later. Cybersecurity professors were baffled. The university's IT team found no malware, no security breaches. The emails contained no traceable routing information, as if they'd materialized directly on the servers. After posting about his digital nightmare on Reddit, Jason received a direct message from user deepsleeper_1972. Those aren't random numbers. They're coordinates. The final digits are a date and time. Someone wants you to find something. The coordinates pointed to a remote section of Tilden Regional Park, 17 miles from campus. The numerical string translated to September 17, 2022, at 9:21 p.m., exactly 1 year in the future. Against all common sense, Jason and his roommates Derek and Leah hiked to the coordinates on September 16, 2021. What they found made no logical sense. Freshly disturbed soil that formed a perfect circle, 6 feet in diameter. At its center lay a weathered metal box containing a USB drive caked with dirt. Back at their apartment, they scanned the drive for malware, finding none, then accessed its contents, 214 video files, each named with a date and time. The earliest was from March 2021, 6 months before Jason received the first email. The latest was dated December 25, 2022, 15 months in the future. With trembling hands, Jason clicked on a video from the previous April. It showed high-definition footage of him sleeping in his bed, recorded from the corner of his ceiling, footage clearly taken inside his apartment. Another showed him studying at his desk from an angle directly behind his head. A third captured him stepping out of his shower, the camera seemingly positioned inside his bathroom mirror. "I live alone," Jason whispered to his friends. "I keep my doors locked. I have no security cameras." Police investigations revealed no hidden cameras, no signs of break-ins, and no surveillance equipment. The university's top computer science professors confirmed no known technology could access his webcam without triggering security protocols or leaving digital fingerprints. Most disturbing of all, the IP address sending the emails traced back to Jason's own laptop. Sent during hours his sleep tracker confirmed he was in deep REM sleep. Then the future videos began coming true. Despite deliberately changing his routines and making spontaneous decisions, the footage from future dates matched his movements with perfect precision, down to the coffee he spilled on his shirt at 9:17 am on October 3, 2021, and the exact words of an argument with Derek on November 17. The final video, dated December 31, 2022, showed something none of them could comprehend. Jason sitting at his desk at midnight, typing an email containing only a string of coordinates and numbers. The very email that had started everything. As the camera pulled back, it revealed something standing behind him, something that looked like Jason, but with eyes that reflected light like a digital screen. The case remains unsolved. Jason abandoned his degree, destroyed all his electronics, and moved to his grandparents' remote farm in rural South Dakota where there is no internet access. He refuses all digital technology, communicating only through handwritten letters. His final communication to investigators contained one sentence. It wasn't coming from the future, it was creating it. On the surface, these three cases have nothing in common: a wildlife photographer in a remote forest, a business executive in a historic hotel, a family receiving impossible phone calls, and a college student haunted through technology. But Dr. Eleanor West sees the connections others miss. The paranormal investigator sits in her university office, surrounded by 17 filing cabinets containing over 3,000 documented cases of unexplainable phenomena from the past decade alone. Her latest research, published in the Journal of Anomalous Experience, reveals disturbing patterns across seemingly unrelated incidents. The most terrifying aspect isn't found in the individual cases, she explains, dark circles under her eyes suggesting she rarely sleeps. It's the patterns that emerge when you analyze them together. She opens Sarah Jenkins' file, spreading photographs across her desk, tree bark with faces so detailed they include iris patterns, spectral analysis of the whispers revealing 17 distinct voices speaking in perfect synchronization, medical scans showing unusual brain activity in the temporal lobe when Sarah hears the whispers. Next comes Michael Chen's file, containing hotel blueprints revealing room 211 was built directly above a mass grave from the 1800s. Spectrographic analysis of his recorder capturing 17 separate frequency bands impossible for human vocal cords to produce simultaneously. Security footage showing the room's door opening and closing by itself exactly 17 times the night Michael died. The Richardson family file contains phone company records confirming calls originating from the demolished asylum's exact coordinates, soil samples from their property showing abnormally high electromagnetic readings, audio spectrograms of the phone calls revealing hidden voice patterns that, when visualized, form a perfect image of Dr. Harlow's face. Finally, she opens Jason Park's thickest file. It contains forensic analyses of the USB drive showing manufacturing dates that don't correspond to any known production periods, binary code from the video files containing encrypted messages in 17 ancient languages. Brain scans revealing Jason's neural patterns precisely match the digital signature of whatever entity sent the emails. We've identified 17 distinct markers present in every verified case, Dr. West explains, voice dropping to a whisper. The number 17 appears with statistical impossibility. The phenomena begins subtly, allowing victims to rationalize early experiences. Technology captures evidence human perception filters out. Historical research always reveals past trauma connected to the location or circumstances. And most disturbing, the phenomena never truly end. They become dormant, sometimes following those affected for decades. She turns her computer monitor toward you, revealing a map of the United States covered in red dots representing verified cases. But here's what keeps me awake at night, she says, pressing a key that changes the display. The map now shows thousands of blue dots. These are reports containing at least 10 of our 17 markers, but lacking full documentation or investigation. Our statistical models suggest for every documented case, approximately 300 go unreported or unrecognized. The algorithm highlights your approximate location on the map. Within a 17-mile radius, 17 blue dots pulse ominously. The most unsettling aspect of this research isn't what we've confirmed, Dr. West concludes, studying your face carefully. It's the statistical certainty that similar phenomena have occurred in your immediate vicinity, whether you've noticed them or not. She closes her files, expression grave. Tell me, she asks quietly, have you experienced any of these markers yourself? Unexplained sounds, electronic anomalies, the sensation of being watched, dreams that come true? Because according to our predictive models, the fact that you're reading these specific cases means you've already encountered at least 3 markers. The phenomena may already be unfolding around you. She glances at the clock, 3:17 p.m. The question isn't whether these forces exist, she whispers. It's whether they've already noticed you.